into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to RBLR Rowdies here on RBLR Sports. My name is Leo Santos, and I'm always joined by James. James, how you doing?
I am doing so well today, I could not even begin to tell you, although I probably will.
You probably will. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But I'm also doing well. Whenever the Rowdies win, how can you not be doing well? So they won 3-1 on Saturday night against Loudoun United, and this ended their 3-game losing streak. But before we get into any in-depth analysis or questions or anything like that, James, you have something to tell us, right? A fun experience you encountered this weekend?
That's right, yep. So this was one of the games, like I said on the previous podcast, I was going to be able to attend this past weekend, and it was just an awesome time. I've had a lot of problems going to these games because I've been dealing with a family member who had an illness, so I actually was able to go with a bunch of my family to this past game, and we just had a blast. I thought that it was the best time. I had a friend come in from Maryland separately. He was also attending the game with his girlfriend's family, and he told me that the girlfriend's father, I don't want to mention any names here in case they want to remain anonymous for their local area teams, fair enough, but apparently watching Ralph's Mob doing all their singing and chanting along with the Skyway Casuals, the atmosphere in the stadium, and then the result on the field, he is a converted fan after one game.
You love to hear that, man. You love to hear that.
Yeah, it was a hell of a night, and I'm happy that I will probably be able to get to attend many more in the future. We did the post-game press conference in person. They've been doing that again recently, and this was the first one of those that I got to attend. So I met the unused substitutes guys. They were all very nice. I met Neil Collins, and he was an upstanding guy, as I'm sure everyone would have guessed. I met Aaron Guillen very briefly. It was just such a good experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you talk about that press game conference, how they're doing it back in person, and I'm excited to do one myself. But when you told me how you got to meet Neil Collins, see some of the players, not only the players, but the guys from Unsubs, it just sounded like a really great time, James. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, I'm hoping that one day you and I will be able to go to one of these games together, and we'll get to do some analysis in person on the day. That'll be fun.
That'll save a lot more time, wouldn't it? But yeah, so I'm glad you had an enjoyable time, James. Last time I went, I had an enjoyable time too. And just like you, I'm hoping I could go to many more in the future. And we know that it won't be anytime soon because I believe the Rowdies return back on home on August. Yeah, August 13th, they come back at home against Hartford Athletic, which ironically was the last game I attended to. And although they lost that game, I still had an enjoyable experience. So good for both of us. But back to this weekend's game. Before the game kicked off, James and I gave our predictions in the last podcast, and I predicted a win for the Rowdies, a 2-0 win to be more specific. What did you predict, James?
I predicted a 3-0 win. So unfortunately, it seems that both of us were off by one goal. It just depends on which one of those goals it was. Exactly.
You were closer than I was. When it was 2-0, I was, although I did kind of want to see the Rowdies score more, especially for Gonzalez to get a goal because we know how much he missed. We'll get into that more shortly. But yeah, I was hoping at least, because it's been a long time since one of us were correct about these predictions.
Yeah, it has been. I did enjoy the weekend, like I said, but one thing, when we get into it a little later, I was sorely disappointed when Loudoun scored because I definitely expected the Rowdies to go on and get a third, like they ultimately did. And if not for an unlucky bounce, I think that I could have at least had that one right.
Yeah, well, you know what? We'll have another chance later to see if we could get back on track because it's been some time. But yeah, let's get into it. So coming into this game, we had questions. Would there be a formation change? Well, the strong XI come back and start the game, unlike the one that started against the Miami FC. And we've seen that. We've seen a new formation change, a midfield triangle that usually is played more with Zach Steinberger and 2 center mids, but this time Zach Steinberger was on the field as well, but there were 3 center mids behind him. In the goalkeeping position we had Evan Laura, of course, and the back three as usual, Guillen, Lasso, and Scarlett. But the midfields were changed up a little bit. We had Lewis Hilton in the CDM position, Jan Ekra as a center mid with Lawrence White controlling that middle of the field. We had Leo Fernandez on his left usual side, and Connor Antley, who was coming in after hopefully not looking to replicate that mistake against the Miami FC. He's coming in on the right wing back position. And although on their Instagram page, the Rowdies posted that they were starting with 2 strikers up front, I don't know how you've seen it in your perspective, James, but for me, it looked like Zach Steinberger was playing that number 10 role, and Gonzalez was a lone striker.
Yeah, it was a bit of a, like you said, it was a bit of a positional change-up from what we've been dealing with in the past, and I think Zach Steinberger had a lot more freedom to roam in this one, and I asked Neil Collins after the game, trying to get a feel for what he intended with the tactics when he chose the lineup that he did. So his whole thing was actually that Zach Steinberger was put up front not because of a bunch of tactical reasons, but just because of the issues that they're having with injuries. This is something that we've talked about pretty much the whole season at this point, since beforehand, because we've been dealing with a couple players who were out from preseason, and then Steven Dos Santos going down in the 4th game. We've been dealing with this all along, and now it's kind of caught up in another way where we had to just toss Zach Steinberger up top and see what he can do up there. I think that he had a pretty good game, which we'll talk about a little bit more, but he floated in between the striker position and, like you said, playing a kind of deeper in that number 10 role, but the biggest difference for me was the midfield triangle that they had going with Lewis Hilton actually sitting behind 2 players, those being Ekra and Wyke. That, for me, was very, very important to the rest of the game, and it allowed a lot of players to play to their strengths in ways that I don't think we've always seen throughout this season.
Yeah, let's dive in a little more into that. I agree with what you said so far. Zach Steinberger did look more influential than past games, of course. Just the way he was finding spaces on the left side and the right side of the field, and he was in a position where he didn't really have to drop back as much because, like you said, Lewis Hilton sat behind Jan Ekra and Lawrence White, so which meant that that ground that Zach Steinberger usually had to cover, it was already covered for him. So whenever he received the ball, when the Rowdies were attacking, he finally had that freedom, that space to find the right pass, get into good spaces, give nice give and goes. And on that first goal, I don't know if you noticed, but before Zach Steinberger plays the ball, which I think was meant for Gonzalez, but Aaron Guillen takes away from him, and he was in really good positioning. Zach Steinberger, he was looking the other way, and I feel like usually Zach Steinberger, he'll be from what I've seen this season. I wouldn't have been surprised if he made the wrong pass because usually, he has options to make a good through ball, but he gives it out wide. And we talked about in previous shows how we don't know if he's doing this or if Neil Collins is instructing him to give the ball out wide instead of playing it in the middle. But this time he turned the other way and he plays a nice ball in, and then luckily Aaron Guillen was there to I believe it was a toe poke. He toe poked that in, and the goalie just fumbled the ball. But luckily the Rowdies got the lead on that one. But yeah, just I feel like this formation allows Zach Steinberger to showcase what he could do if he has space, if he has freedom, if he's received the ball in the attacking position. And I thought, like you said, he had a really good game.
Yeah, I had some ideas about Zach Steinberger watching this game because he definitely has played in a more advanced role than the number 10 over the course of the years that he's been with the Rowdies. He's played there a couple of times. The number 10, for all of our listeners who may or may not be aware, that is the central attacking midfield position. So you are kind of the guy who's leading, trying to set up the strikers and put them in good positions where they can get a shot off. Now, if you play a little more advanced than that, like Zach Steinberger did, your role obviously changes and your responsibilities change too. So I think that he is just, it's not that he is a player that, can't handle the structure of playing in a number 10. And I think that he has even shown for the Rowdies that he has, or at least is capable, let's say, of doing that role very well. He hasn't been, I don't think, at least in the last couple games since maybe the first 3 of the season. I don't think that he's been living up to his usual standard, which we have definitely seen from him. But this one, as we've talked about, gave him a lot more license to kind of roam and get to the ball wherever it is going to be, as opposed to him staying in one position and look to do things from that fixed role. He can find a go to the ball, or kind of go to the ball, and find where the next play is going to start. And I think that was a little better for him to maybe get some confidence going and get involved a little bit better. His touches were definitely up compared to other games, so I liked that.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with everything you just said. Not only did his, did he make an impact in this formation, but also you talked about it, that 3 midfield. Lewis Hilton, as we usually know, he plays that center mid role, likes to get up, does really good defensively. But this game, he was more, I guess he was more instructed to stay more defensive and really protect that back 3. And that's why you've seen it was kind of harder for, although Loudoun did have spells of possession and made forced Laurel to make some saves. It was difficult to break down that defense because, instead of a usual just a back 3 defending, you have Lewis Hilton who's there to provide even more support. So I think, him being there and him, cutting out passes or setting the tempo of the game or distributing the ball from his defensive side, I think it really worked out for him. He was really, maybe he wasn't as creative as he is usually, but I thought he perfected that role. And you talk about the 2 people in front of him, Lawrence White and Jan Erica. We know Lawrence White is full of energy. He likes to go up and down the field. He likes to be involved in plays, whether it's start it or finish it or, be a part of it. And then we have the experienced Jan Erica who, he has that presence of, he just plays cool, calm, and collected. You give him the ball, he makes a simple pass. That way he keeps the play going on. And I just thought that three midfield right there, they looked like they were spot on for this game.
Yeah, exactly everything that you said with Lewis Hilton and Wyken Ekra. I think that it was very evident on the field how well that worked out. Lewis Hilton is certainly a good defensive presence, and when there are 2 players sitting in front of our back 3 of Guillen, Forrest, Lasso, and Jordan Scarlett, when there are 2 players sitting in front of them, maybe at times you can kind of pick up on players, trying to get into the same areas. And they have to, keep themselves on the left if that's where you're supposed to line up, or keep yourself on the right if that's the case. And it kind of stifles them a little bit, I would think. Mm-hmm. Lawrence White is a player who will get forward if you give him the chance to do so. And if you do give him that chance, I think that you'll see actually a lot of good benefits coming from it. He is very good on, not necessarily, a long, mazy dribble, but he can take a couple touches and then get a good shot off. We definitely saw that. And Jan Ekra is another very good facilitator. He can carry it a couple yards here and then make a pass, move to get on the other side, and then receive it back so that he's in an even higher position than when he first started the play. So I think that both of them have very good qualities for moving the ball forward. And then Lewis Hilton's best quality for moving the ball forward, I think, as we've all seen, is the long ball. So if you give him the chance to be a little bulldog in front of the back 3 defenders, and then, just pick off the ball from any of the opposing attackers whenever he can get in there, and then play a long ball to somebody out on the wing or somebody who's waiting up top, be that Steven Dos Santos when he gets back, or Sebastian Guenzati, Zach Steinberger as we had this game. I think that those are all really playing to their strengths. Lewis Hilton had 8 accurate long balls over the course of the game, and then these are the real statistics that you see every match. He had 4 duels won, he had 2 tackles, he had 13 recoveries, and among all of that, he also created 5 chances. So I think that him sitting back and, like I said, being that little English bulldog, sit in front of the defenders, he's really good at sweeping up, clearing it out of the danger, but also into an effective attacking position. I was there with my dad this past weekend, and all game my dad was pointing out, look, he just did it again, Hilton again, and it was very evident how well he could play that role. The lone role, I should say.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, everything just said about Lewis Hilton just shows how committed he was to playing that certain defensive mid role. And I've seen that, throughout the game, time and time again, how he would cut out plays. And not only would he be the kind of defensive mid just to, whenever he's seen danger, he didn't just hit the emergency button and just clear it out of bounds. He would, cut out passes, but also start plays, like you said. And that, we've seen several times, especially in those opening 15, 20 minutes where the Rowdies could have easily had 3 to 5 goals where he cut out a pass and just start to play, and that play will last on for a long time. But people forget that, like, wait, this originated from that interception that Lewis Hilton made. And you talk about Lawrence White. I think this is the second back-to-back game where he hits the post.
Yep.
He's through on goal and he just hits it. But the fact that he gets himself to those positions, you think someone like Zach Steinberger to be in those positions. But Lawrence White, who's playing behind Zach Steinberger, shows that he could be anywhere you want him to be. He'll follow a play. He won't just pass a play and stay in the middle of the park. He wants to be involved. And Jan Ekra, I feel like he was more comfortable to do that. He was more comfortable to pass a play and just stay in the middle of the park. If someone needs someone to switch a play, you give it to Jan Ekra and he switches it to the other side of the field. So like we said, I feel like overall, those three people those three players in the midfield, they worked really well. And I want to ask you something real quick, James. How the hell did Guinzotti not have a brace so early in the game?
This is another game now, 2 in a row, where Sebastian Guinzotti has had chance after chance after chance, and ultimately he did get one, as we will ultimately talk about later on. But he hasn't quite had his finishing boots on the last 2 games. I think that a big thing for this particular game against Loudoun, there were some players who were pretty suspect when they have the ball. For Loudoun, I should say. They are not, the most comfortable with the ball at their feet. They might want to be just, mostly defending and then clearing it, so to speak. Robbie Dambrot on their back line and Timmy Mell. Actually, Michael DeShields as well. All 3 of their back 3 center backs I thought were kind of suspect when they had the ball and they were trying to actually keep possession. So there was a lot of pressure being applied early on. The pressing game was extremely important in the Rowdies' build-up. So I think that we were able to really effectively utilize that, and that comes down to Ekra and Wyke being midfielders who are capable of playing in a more defensive role, but then, like we've said, they were unleashed to play higher up. And then Sebastian Guinzotti and Zach Steinberger, both of them, were absolutely energized their bunnies out there. They were applying pressure left and right and not giving any of the defenders the time to even settle the ball. I think Robbie Dambrot had several bad passes out of the back just because Zach Steinberger had stepped to him so quickly. So that's how a lot of our chances came about. But as you said, unfortunately, it was not the case that we saw one particularly early on. Seba did have those chances. Ultimately, it required Aaron Guillen starting a play and then finishing it by running all the way from our own half into their box. And you do got to appreciate that too, though.
Yeah, it's something you love to see. And if someone was to ask me before the game that they would take $10 of Aaron Guillen scoring before Guinzotti in this game, I would have took that bet, and obviously I would have lost $10 because Guinzotti, those chances, you expect someone like him to put those chances away. And not only that, with the corner kicks, the Rowdies looked really dangerous on them, like they always usually do. Literally, I believe it was like 4 or 5 free kicks in that first 15 minutes of the game, where it just looked like one of these has to go in. We've seen a header from Guinzotti, we've seen a close range shot go wide from Guinzotti, and it was just a matter of time. Luckily, they did get that first goal, but they should have had like 3 or 4 going to that second half. But we got to mention that Leo Fernandez and Connor Antley too. They both looked very lively, especially Connor Antley. We know that mistake he did last time out, and if it was going to impact him, if it was going to start, he got the start, and I think he did well with the opportunity that Neil Collins gave him. And I just think he's been doing good every time he starts. Obviously, besides that last game, but he looked back to his old self, is what I'm trying to say. He got in good wide positions. He dribbles in, crosses. He uses his speed against other defenders. And to me, he looked like back to himself. And Leo Fernandez, what more can I say of that guy? From the first whistle, he's been trying to get involved, putting in crosses. And, I don't know if you noticed this, but in the first half, and maybe even the second half, Leo Fernandez and Sebastian Guinzotti, I think it's the fact that they've been playing together for so long that it's like they have their own special connection. Like when Fernandez passes the ball to Guinzotti, he knows exactly where to go because he knows Sabo will give it back to him.
Yeah, this is something that you and I have also talked about in other games when we were hitting the 100 appearances mark for the both of them, one game after the next. So, I think that it is some innate connection that they have, and I absolutely love seeing it because The two of them together are, they're already, Rowdies legends when you look at the amount of players who have made 100 appearances for this club. But they're just going to keep building upon that every game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the more they play on, the more chemistry, the better chemistry is going to get on between those two, and it's already high. So they're going to get better on for here. Maybe more dangerous for defenders. But going to that second half, once again the Rowdies start off on a good foot. And although the possession might not say that the Rowdies are the most dominant team, I thought they were. We've seen Leo Fernandez, like who just mentioned, just scores a lovely goal. When I was watching the broadcast, Lewis Hilton lays the ball off to Leo Fernandez, and when Fernandez goes on to shoot the ball, I'm like, give it out wide. Aaron Gein's making a run out wide, but then he scores, and literally half a second I forgave him for taking the shot.
Yeah. So it was a similar thing in the second half as it was to the first half, where the Rowdies started off with really high pressure again, and they were trying to make the Loudoun United defenders cough up the ball in really bad areas for them. Ultimately, when you're playing that high press, you get a little tired, and you have to kind of slow it down so that you can maintain a good speed for the rest of the half. So, you might do a hard press for the first 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, that is not quite where it paid off for the Rowdies in the first half. The second half, that was definitely the case. They got the goal, the early goal that they were after, and it came from, like you said, a very, very nice shot from Leo. He just, drilled that into the bottom corner. That is textbook finishing, and I was so happy to be able to see him get on the score sheet again. That was really good to see.
Yeah, it was a really proud moment, and I think another proud moment was at his celebration. So usually when soccer players do that kind of celebration, their wife is expecting. So I'm happy for Leo.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that is even, sport is sport, but that's something that's even cooler than sport, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, I've always liked those kind of celebrations. But one thing I didn't like is that once the Rowdies got that 2-goal lead, to me it seemed like they were just, let's shut up shop, let's just sit back. But there was still, I believe, like half an hour of soccer left to play. You should, although you got 3 goals, just keep on going. You got Loudoun United where they're going to want to press against you. Or they might be annoyed to where you just have possession more than they do and just switch the ball side to side and go get another goal. But they decided to sit back a little bit, let Loudoun press the ball a little bit more. I guess this is where their higher percentage of possession comes into play. But the defense looked strong for most of the game. But then it's unfortunate for Jordan Scarlett, who I thought had a good game, as he usually does. He just I feel like a defender's in that position. It could either go good for you or it could go really bad for you. And obviously we've seen that the shot that Loudoun took to get 1 goal, it took a deflection from Jordan Scarlett, and you can see on his face that he just felt really unfortunate because he's just there doing his job and it just goes past Evan Laurel.
Yeah, and as a former defender who didn't make it to a high level because maybe there were too many of those mistakes going on, I can say it's one of the worst feelings when you actually do get yourself into the position to block a shot and then you block it such that it goes into the net anyway. You're like, come on, I was doing what I was supposed to do. It just wasn't, it was the physics of the ball that made me that unlucky, but. As you said, he had a very good game before that. He stuck with a very good game afterwards. You're going to make unfortunate, little absolute nothing slip-ups like that. Just pure bad luck. And I think that he knows what he needs to do. Just let that roll off his back like water off a duck, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, and it's good they kept that same mentality because right after that, it looked like Loudoun United, they had most of the momentum. They just got a goal. Now you're 1 goal behind. What can you do? But Loudoun shot themselves in the foot. They gave away a goal to the Rowdies, who came from an unforced error from Loudoun United defender. And then, one thing leads to another. Guenzati's threw on goal. And at that point, after so many missed chances from Guenzati, in my head, I was like, this has to be where he finally gets his goal. And I was right, threw on goal. Makes himself he took a sweet time in the box, made himself comfortable to where he won't miss it at all. And he did so. He makes it in the goal and he celebrates with his team. And it's he put in a good shift. I guess that's what I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, this wasn't really this didn't really come from the Rowdies pressing game. It really just came from the fact that the player had stepped out of position and left Sebastian Guenzati wide open. So when the ball broke because Leo stepped in to intercept it. It fell to Jan Ecker. Jan saw that Sebastian Guenzati had acres of space in front of him, and he found him as quickly as possible, falling over all the while. And Sebastian had, like I said, all that room to take his time, set himself up, and make sure that he was able to get the shot that he wanted, and he beat their goalkeeper, who had been standing on his head prior to that, had such a good game. But Sebastian Guenzati was able to beat him near post and finally get back on the score sheet like we all knew he wanted to.
Yeah, it seemed like it was only a matter of time before Guenzati finally gets his goal. And I think what happened, my view for Loudoun United, is that maybe they got too confident playing out the back, and then one thing led to another, like I said, and then Guenzati goes on and scores. And to me, that's when the game was basically over. You're not coming back against Rowdies' team about 15 minutes left to play, and you're down 2 goals, especially at home with that kind of atmosphere in the stadium. And but yeah, towards the end, the match ends in a bittersweet mood. We see Lucky Mkosana make his return. Everyone's doing the Lucky chant. Everyone gets on their, I wasn't there, but watching on the broadcast, you could hear the noise in the clap for Lucky Mkosana to make his return. And it feels like it's gonna end in a good mood. Everything's going well for the Rowdies. But then Dayon Harris has played through a pass on the right flank, and before he even gets the ball, he reaches for his hamstring, and it just looks very, very painful to see because he's reaching for his hamstring, goes straight to the ground, and he was having a lot of trouble getting off the field.
Yeah, so when I asked Neil Collins about this after the game, he said it was too early to tell, but, I think pretty much everybody who knows that feeling, knows that injury. It is probably a hamstring, and, we'll just have to see the extent of the problem to know how long he's going to be out. But, as you said, there was all that energy from Lucky coming back, and that was another thing that Neil Collins spoke about. He mentioned Lucky being one of the best strikers in the league as a late substitute, someone to kill off the game. He is one of the best for that role, and I totally agree, but when you have that kind of at the expense of another player, it is a bitter pill to swallow, and I think that Dayon Harris will hopefully be able to come back. He was, really starting to pick up, I think, his form, and he was getting more and more minutes and more and more influence. But, yeah, we will just have to see at this point what the situation will turn into.
Yeah, it seems like, one player comes back from injury, then literally that same game, another player gets injured. And we've seen with Dayon Harris how, he's been, besides that first start he had for the Rowdies, he's actually been making a good impact for the team. He was finally figuring out his role in the team, figuring out what Neil Collins wants him to do. He was getting himself in good positions. And I thought, I expected him to start this game, at least, maybe not as a striker, maybe the right wing back role, but he didn't. But now you got a feel for the guy because, like I said, he's been having a good season so far, trying to work his way into the starting lineup. And, this happens to him, and unfortunately it does happen in this sport. But, I guess from here on out, we could just wish the best for him. Hopefully, not only a speedy recovery, but a great recovery to where this doesn't happen again. And basically same thing with Lucky Mkosana, how they took time with his injury. People wonder why he was out for so long. It's because hopefully, Lucky won't get injured again and spend so much time on the sidelines. So hopefully they do the same kind of care with Dayon Harris.
Yeah, they did not rush him back at all, and I'm assuming that, the coaching staff will keep that in mind. But, that's how the game went, and with that, we're going to move into our questions for the game and back and forth. The first one we do want to start off with because it leads into a question that we got from Twitter. So this is from Lil Lord Pete at MTLoster2222. He writes, Wyke was very creative at getting forward, making runs in the first half. I like the combo of Ecker, Hilton, and Wyke in the midfield. Do we think we'll see more of this in the future? And that leads into the same question that we were going to ask, which is essentially just should Neil Collins continue with this formation? Would you swap anybody out? Would you keep it as it is? That kind of stuff. And to get to that answer, Lil Lord Pete, I would say I agree with you. I thought that it was very good. We've talked about it a little bit already, that I think that Hilton sitting behind and able to cover all the space that's in front of the back three defenders, I think that he thrives in that role because he is somebody who really likes to run. There are players who are kind of lazy, or maybe lazy isn't the right word, but they have a set area that they stay on the field, and they like to stick to that area. That's kind of their office, as you might call it in hockey. But Lewis Hilton makes it his business to get everywhere that he can, as long as he can get into a defensive position. So I think that giving him the freedom to do so and letting him be the one player in front of the back three really lets him thrive. And then, as I said, I think that giving Lawrence Wyke, obviously, and Jan Ekra the ability to get higher up the field and join in the attack while also playing on their defensive instincts when the Rowdies are pressing because the other team has possession. I think that that's very important too, because they obviously have the instinct for it, and if you are going to, apply a high pressing game the way that the Rowdies definitely like to do, then you need to have players who are adept at doing that. Mm-hmm. I think that swapping players out might not be the answer here. I think that as long as we can ride this, let's see how it goes, and let's at least give it one more shot in the next game, coming up here, and see what Ekra and Wyke are able to do in that role, provided the Rowdies line up in that same way again.
Once again, I couldn't have said it better myself. You mentioned how we should try it again and see how it goes. I agree with that, because I wouldn't have swapped any players out, by the way. But from what I've seen from that midfield three, I think they all know the roles. Lewis Hamilton likes to stay back, cut passes out, and distribute the ball. Ekra and Wyke, they know the roles. They know when to go up. They know when to stay back. And then not only that, you allow Zach Steinberger to roam the attacking area and let him, find those key passes to get on goal or get himself in good position. So as long as you do that, like you said, try it out for one more game, see if it works. I feel like it will work again. Not only that, like when I say see if it works, I mean like see if you play good soccer. Let's say you tie or you lose, but you played a good game. That's fine as long as this formation is working in that sense. Then keep on trying it until you get players who are injured. Have them come back from injury, and then you can go back to that formation you started in the beginning of the season. But for now, it looked like it's working. It looks like Neil Collins finally found a formation to where he could cope with those players, as I just said, on the injured list. So for now, I say you go on with this, see if it works. We got to bear in mind that Loudoun United is not one of the best teams in the USL right now. In fact, they're in dead last. So, we get a pass this time. But in this weekend's game against Charlotte, we'll get more into that later in the show. But I feel like you should try it again and see if it works.
Yeah, that's totally what I am thinking at this point. But the other thing that you said, though, is with this game against Loudoun, is that enough to say that the Rowdies are back, so to speak? I would personally say no. I think that while this was one of the best halves that I've seen the Rowdies play, the first half, I should say, while I think that was one of the best halves that the Rowdies have played in a couple months at this point. The problem is the fact that Loudoun United, as talented as some of those players are, I don't want to say that they're all garbage players or anything like that. There are definitely guys on that team who are going to end up at bigger and better things, whether that's better teams in the USL Championship, whether that's MLS, whether that's even Europe. Who's to say at this point? They do have talent, but right now they're having a hard time putting it together. So to say that the Rowdies are looking really good against a bad team, that's good. You want that, obviously, but you need to see more of that. This is kind of like the game against Charleston, where the Rowdies looked pretty good a couple weeks ago, but Charleston really didn't even come out to play in the first half. So to say that they looked great, again, you hope so.
Yeah,
that's kind of what exactly. So that's kind of what I feel there. But there's another question here, Leo, and that is, should we be concerned about the amount of missed chances in this game? How are you feeling about that?
I think we should be concerned, because we've seen in recent games where we don't put the chances away, and the other team goes on and gets the first goal, then we find ourselves in a lot of trouble. So, luckily we did get the first goal this time, although it was from a defender, which, credit to Aaron Game for that amazing run. We should be a little bit concerned, because someone like Sebastian Gonzalez, you expect to put at least 2 of all those chances he missed. He only put away 1. Which I think required way more work than the other chances he had. Maybe he likes it difficult. Maybe it was too easy for him. He wanted he wanted things to be a little more difficult. But we should be a little bit concerned, because like I said, you got to put these chances away. If not, There's a saying in soccer: if you don't score, you concede, and we've seen that happen to the Rowdies recently. So we should be concerned until I see most of these chances are put away. Then obviously we can stop being concerned. But for the time being, that's something that Neil Collins should keep an eye out for.
Yeah, I definitely think that you're right about that. With strikers, it's such a hard position because you're out there to score, obviously. If you're not scoring, people are asking, why aren't you scoring? And that can kind of get in your head. The other thing with strikers is that it's a very streaky position just by its nature. Sometimes you're scoring like Jamie Vardy and you score 13 games in a row somehow in the best league in the world. Sometimes, you miss 5 open chances in the 6-yard box, and that's just how it goes. I've heard being a striker is like when you've got a bottle of ketchup and you're trying to get all the ketchup out. You keep hitting the bottom and nothing's coming out. And then eventually a whole bunch of it comes out and you're like, that was even too much. I'm not even sure I wanted that.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, so it's just something that is the nature of the position. And I think the fact that Seba was able to put one away, he'll get that confidence back if he was missing any to begin with. And, he'll be feeling good about himself. But there was another thing that you mentioned in there about how if you don't score, then you can obviously concede. And the Rowdies have not kept a clean sheet in their last 4 games. So is that something that concerns you as well at this point?
I think it does. Regarding that, we have the reigning USL Defender of the Year, Forrest Lasso, and we were one of the best defensive units last season. We should be that team that at least keeps a clean sheet 1 every 3 games, and we haven't kept them in the last 4. So maybe when teams play against the Rowdies, they kind of expect to get at least 1 goal against them. So, you just give confidence to the opposition the more you don't keep these clean sheets. And we have a wonderful goalie in Evan Laurel. We have a good back line, but we've noticed that long balls tend to be their Achilles heel. And it just seems like they need to find a way to keep this clean sheet because, especially against Loudoun United, you don't want the last place team scoring 1 goal on you. And that's nothing, to take away from Loudoun United. Like I said, they do got talented players on their team, but this Rowdies defense needs to, hopefully if they keep this information, maybe Lewis Hillman could be that difference where it is a key to keep a clean sheet. Because like we said, there was an unlucky deflection from Jordan Scarlett that ultimately led to Loudoun United's first and only goal of the game. So maybe we might see a clean sheet in the near future, maybe this weekend possibly, if we stick with this formation. But we have to keep an eye out on this because, like I said, we have the reigning USL Defender of the Year on our team. We have one of the best defensive units in the league. How the hell are we not keeping a clean sheet in our last 4 games?
Yeah, I think that they will be in their heads about that too. And as long as you can keep your head up, eventually things are going to go your way, and that's when you'll get back to the position that you were before, where you're not second guessing yourself and you just know that you're going to win the ball. So I think that they will eventually sort it out. It's another thing with defending. It's just difficult to do consistently over the course of a season because that's another thing where if you make a mistake, then you're getting scrutinized immediately. And, they'll sort it out as far as I can guess, though.
Yeah, quickly before we move on, this is part of like a relationship here, with the amount of missed chances and not keeping clean sheet. And it's why I said it's a perfect example. If you don't score, you concede. And we've seen in earlier games where Rowdies have chances to get the first goal, they don't, and then they concede. So maybe I'm being a little too harsh on the defense for their attacking players not scoring the goals. You lead to counterattacks, you lead to long balls catching the back line off guard. So I feel like if Rowdies do get the first goal, it may lead to increasing their chances of keeping a clean sheet.
It definitely puts them in a better position. I totally agree with you. So, would you say then that we're seeing a change in form from any of these players, or is it possibly too early to tell with, Loudoun being the team that we've mentioned they are?
Well, I don't know if it's a change in form, but it's definitely a change in attitude and change in mindset. It's a good thing for Rowdies fans to see how Connor Antley reacted in this game. Like I said, I didn't expect him to start, but he did. And I thought he put in a great shift. Aaron Guillen, who, hasn't really been the Aaron Guillen we know during that winless run. He's gets a goal. You just know how much that goal meant to him. The way he goes straight to the corner flag, slides and celebrates with his team, with those fans.
Oh yeah,
yeah, exactly. It just shows how much that meant to him. And then that assist, you've seen Stadberger's face too. It meant a lot to him. And although Lawrence White hit the post, you could see how he was eager to get a goal or get in good positions again. So although the opposition wasn't one of the best oppositions in the league, it might not be a change of form, but you certainly see how much this game meant to those 4 players I just mentioned.
Yeah, that's definitely true for me as well. So all of that is out of the way now. We get to the big one here. Who is your man of the match?
Oh, you see, I actually had trouble, even though it's a win. You would think there'd be one player that caused a win for this team or inspired a win for this team, but I feel like I've seen that in a lot of players. But I'm gonna have to go with Sebastian Guinzotti, just because not just because he's a captain or he's the face of the team, but when you're a striker and you miss that many chances early in the game and throughout the whole first half, it's easy to put your head down and just be like, it's one of those days. But then you just see, although he was tired at the time he scored the goal, you just see him, make that a 30-yard run to, finally get his goal. And then that celebration and, basically putting the game away, claiming that Rowdies a win. I just got to give it to Sebastian Guinzotti for this game.
Well, I can definitely respect that, but I will have to also respectfully decline to agree with you. I would give it to, at this point, what I really want to do for man of the match is I want to give it to the 3 men in the center of the midfield. I want to give it to Ekra, Wyke, and Hilton for playing those roles so well, but obviously it is the man of the match and not the men, so I will give it to, instead, just Lewis Hilton. I think that him playing that role allowed Wyke and Ekra in front of him to really shine, and so I'm going to say that Lewis Hilton was my man of the match.
Yeah. And we have a producer note here that we should include an honorable mention to Aaron Guillen because it was his first goal in a Rowdies shirt, and he did put in a good shift during that game. So he was for me he was considered man of the match, but like I said, I had to give it to Guinzotti because just because he hasn't been on the score sheets last time out, and the fact that he had the mentality to, let me get this goal. I missed so many chances, and we're only up by 1. If Loudoun scores again, it's gonna be my fault. So let me go ahead and get this goal. So I gotta give it to Guinzotti, but there has to be an honorable mention towards Aaron Guillen.
And that's perfectly fair. So we are going to move now from our man of the match into the hot take segment. I'm sure one following the other shouldn't be too provocative, right? You tell me your hot take, Leo, and then I'll go after you.
All right, my hot take is that the Rowdies need to try this formation again this weekend against Charlotte. Like I said, when I say for it to work, it means playing good soccer, knowing what the roles of each player are. You look at that midfield 3, Wyke, Ekra, and Hilton. They knew what they were doing from the first whistle to the last, or when they got subbed off during the game, should I say. They knew what the role was, and they knew that they were going to be the team that puts the pressure, the team that gets the most chances, the team that wants to score first, and we've seen exactly that. And if it doesn't work, then I think Neil Collins has no choice but to switch to a back 4. And I've been saying this for we both been saying this for quite some time, that just try to back 4. If it doesn't work out, then I'm wrong, James and I are wrong, and we'll take it. Neil Collins has so much more on his shoulders than we thought he did. So yeah, that's my hot take. Try it again. If it doesn't work, go to a back 4. If it does work, you finally figured out how to win games without Steven Dos Santos.
Yeah, I think that's fair. My hot take is pretty quick, and it's just got to do with the injuries here because they keep piling up. Deon Harris, as we said, might be out for a little while. We don't know at this point, but it is notable that the Rowdies are the team that have used the fewest players over the course of this season. I think that if the injuries continue to pile up and if we don't get more players back, because Lucky came in and then Deon Harris went right back out, then we're just going to have to make another signing or two. That's my quick hot take.
Do you know who would you like if, let's say, Deon Harris does spend some quite some time on the sideline? Do you have any idea for any player that you would like to see come in for the Rowdies?
Well, what I would like personally is if we went and scoured MLS for one of the players who isn't playing maybe too much at that level, and then bring him in on loan. I know that we did that with Minnesota United. We had a player in here very briefly on a loan, and then Foster Langsdorff ultimately left very briefly or very quickly as well. So maybe we get somebody who's in for a little while longer, but Let's wait and see what Harris is dealing with, I suppose, before we jump that gun.
Mm-hmm. I like how you used briefly because he literally came in, scored a game-winning goal, and said, "All right, peace, I'm out."
And he's out. Yep, that's exactly right.
That's how it is. That's how it happens in this league. And hopefully, like you said, the injury isn't too worrying for Dayon Harris. If it is, then signings will need to be considered. We're gonna move on to our standings update in our next segment. And the Rowdies are still in first place in the Atlantic Division. They got 27 points from 14 games, and they're only in first place because of goal differential. They have a +9 goal differential. Pittsburgh Riverhounds, they're the team in second place, just behind the Rowdies. They have the same amount of points, 27 points, but they have one more game played with 15 games. They have a +5 goal differential, so we're ahead with 4 goals. We're neck and neck right now. But one thing I would say is that, Rowdies fans should keep an eye on Hartford Athletic, the team that beat us 1-0. They have 23 points from 12 games. Although they do have less points than the Rowdies, they have 2 games less played than the Rowdies. So if they win both of those games, they're on top of the division. And, So I bring this up because this weekend we have a matchup between second place and third place. Pittsburgh Riverhounds against Hartford Athletic. And this can possibly dictate if the Rowdies can have some breather room at the top, or if either of these two teams continue to breathe down their necks. If Hartford win, they'll still be in second, but if they win their other game in hand, they go to first place. If Pittsburgh win, that means Rowdies have to win again. And as we mentioned before in the last podcast, now is not the time to drop any points. Rowdies have to keep on winning. They had that 3-game losing streak. They stopped it recently against Loudoun United, but they have to keep winning. They can't drop no more points, or these teams will catch up to them. For the weekend game, James, this weekend's game for Pittsburgh Riverhounds against Hartford Athletic, what kind of result do you think will be best for the Rowdies?
Well, I think the only result that would really help us out between those two teams playing each other would be a draw. I think if they went in and they got 0-0, that neither of them scored a goal, and each of them only got 1 point, that would give the Rowdies a chance to win their game hopefully, and then get some breathing room against Pittsburgh, and that would also really impact the ability for Hartford to come back with their 2 games in hand and possibly overtake us.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. When I first seen this game in my head, I was like, come on, let's get a draw. I'm hoping for a draw. 0-0 would be best because no one gets a goal, no one concedes a goal, no one improves or lowers their goal differential. So yeah, I'm hoping for a draw as well. I feel like it'll be best for the Rowdies. They'll get that breathing room up top. As far as the Eastern Conference, the Rowdies are still in second. They're only second again because of goal differential. Louisville City FC are in first with 27 points from 14 games, but they have a +12 goal differential. Remember, the Rowdies have a +9 goal differential. But like I said earlier, we need to keep an eye on other teams. For the Eastern Conference, we need to keep an eye out for Birmingham Legion FC. They have 25 points from 13 games, 1 game less played than the Rowdies and Louisville. So if they win their game in hand, they have 28 points, and they're above both Louisville and Rowdies, and the Rowdies will be pushed back to third. So we need to keep an eye out for these teams. And this will then lead us to our weekend's match, our Charlotte Independence preview. The Rowdies play this Saturday, July 31st, 7 p.m. This game's away. It will not be home. Last time out, Charlotte beat the Rowdies 1-0 to end their opening 5-game win streak earlier in the season. And we all know how all of us were cheering. All of us were saying that, this Rowdies team, they're doing really great. This is a minor setback. At least that's what we thought. But now we're at this point in the season, and we don't know what to expect in this game, James.
Yeah, the one thing I will bring up, the game that we lost against Charlotte, I remember that press conference, the post-game press conference pretty well, because Neil Collins was as close to apoplectic as you can get while also keeping a straight face. He was he said that there were essentially no positives to come out of that game, and as with pretty much every sport, that will happen where a good team is just going to have an off day. The Rowdies are a good team in this league. They had their off day against Charlotte. I'm assuming they will, like you said, want revenge after that first one, where they know that they played poorly and really shouldn't have, come away with any type of result, so the loss was fair. But that's not fair for who the two teams are. They're going to want to come back and show, hey, we are the Tampa Bay Rowdies. We can beat you, and we're going to do it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I believe this was one of those games where Neil Collins was experimenting with his squad. He was rotating players. We've seen starting debuts towards Deion Harris, Matt Sorbell. So it was chemistry needed to be built between these players. So maybe Charlotte caught us on an off day, as like you said, James, usually happens in soccer. So maybe this time around it'll be different. Like we said, Deion Harris might be sidelined, but most of these players seem to find their footing now within the squad. So with all that being said, Charlotte are in 6th place in the Atlantic Division, which is the same as the Rowdies. They have 16 points from 13 games. So far, their record this season, they got 5 wins, 7 losses, 1 draw. And one thing I noticed, James, which might help the Rowdies a lot, is that their Charlotte Independents are winless in their last 5 matches.
Yeah, so they're obviously coming into this on a bit of a skid themselves, and hopefully that will bode well for us. I do want to mention, though, that they've made a couple of signings since we played them last. They have brought in players who actually look to be pretty good. They have signed a guy named Sylvain Marveaux. Sylvain Marveaux is a previous English Premier League level player. So I have a Newcastle United friend, and when he signed for Newcastle, I told him, man, you don't even know the signing you're getting. This guy is great. I saw him play in the French league ahead of time, and I thought that he was going to come and kill it in England. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out that way, but obviously, everyone knows if you are good enough to make it to the English Premier League, I think that stepping down to the USL Championship is going to be something where he can come in and really make a big difference. He's going to be somebody that we want to keep an eye out on. And then there's another player that I want to mention, Adam Armour. Adam Armour is a local guy from North Carolina. He actually moved to a team in Germany at 18 years old. That's the age when you can go over there if you don't have some type of European ancestry. So he went over there. He signed for a team. He played in their academy for a little bit, and then he came back to play for the MLS team that will be coming to Charlotte. So they have they don't have a season going on right now. They will be joining MLS next year, and right now they have loaned him out to Charlotte Independents, the team that we will obviously be playing. He is a left back and somebody that we will have to keep an eye out on as well. He's obviously very skilled to have done everything that he's done, even before 19 years old. And he just made his debut, I believe, this past weekend for Charlotte Independents, and that bodes well for his future. But I'm hoping, obviously, that we will have enough in the tank to keep him behind the gate and not really able to make any big changes on the game. Those are the players that I think that we need to keep an eye out on most right now.
Mm-hmm. That's really good to know. I'm pretty sure Neil Collins either has or is currently doing his homework on Charlotte Independents right now, and we'll probably be highlighting certain players, especially the ones that you mentioned right now, towards this team who to keep an eye out on. And hopefully, I guess from this point on, we could just hope that the Rowdies know how to cope from these talented players. But like I said, they're winless in their last 5 matches, so something must not be working within that team right now. And maybe it's good timing for the Rowdies, but again, you have games in soccer where Charlotte just need that one game to gain their confidence back, just like the Rowdies did with Loudoun United. So this game could go either way. And I think that leads us to our predictions. James, are you ready?
I think I'm ready.
Okay, you let me go first last time. I know you regretted it, so I'm going to let you go first this week.
Okay. All right. Well, last week when I let you go first, you took the 2-0. So I think it's only fair that this week I take the 2-0. And that's going to be my prediction. A 2-0 Rowdies win.
Okay, I'm going to be very close to your prediction. I'm going to predict a 2-1 Rowdies win. I don't think we keep a clean sheet. I do think we're going to miss chances again like we did against Loudoun United. But I think ultimately we'll do just enough to win. I think we'll play good soccer again as long as we play the same formation. So I'm going to go with the 2-1 win.
All right. Well, that wraps up all of the stuff for last game and the game coming up. We just want to hit a couple more quick points here. For this past game, Jan Ekra hit his 200th USL Championship appearance, and that was on his 32nd appearance for the Rowdies. So I think that we should just, as a group of fans, say congratulations to Jan Ekra. Mm-hmm. He has proven himself to be a very capable player at this level, and I think that I hope that he will just keep performing for the Rowdies and help us keep up that winning culture here. And I can't say much more. He's just a consummate professional type of player. And Leo, you had some stuff to bring up about the Rowdies Academy team, actually.
Yeah, so the Rowdies Academy team, they kick off their USL Academy season this past weekend, and they won the first game at home at Outling Stadium. They won 3-2 against Weston FC. So, congrats to the Academy team. And we have a question here from Twitter from David Morales at Davey from Tampa. He asked, anything noteworthy aside from some bangers, which, let's be honest, I would say about all three of those goals were bangers. He asked, did you notice anything about the way the Academy team played this Sunday? And I gotta tell you, Dave, I didn't watch the game because I don't really know where to watch the game, but I seen the highlights from the Tampa Bay Rowdies social media pages, and from what I could tell you is that those 1v1 skills from those kids in their Academy team at that young was very impressive. The way they were bold enough to take the opposition 1v1, showcase their skills. I was really impressed by that, and also the give and go play. Usually we see players who give a pass and they think, all right, my job is done. But no, these players, from what I see on the left back position, the right back position, the center mids, they give a pass. And probably because younger, they had more energy, but they knew they wanted to play to continue, whether it was with them or another player. But as long as they made their run, they knew their job was done. And the dummy runs, too. We've seen some players who got forward, they would make some dummy runs to spread out the defense, and that would leave even more space for some of these young Rowdies to get in behind the opposition's defense. And the long ball play reminds me of the way Forrest Lasso likes to reach Connor Antley or Leo Fernandez. On that, I believe it was that third goal, the winning goal. There was a long ball play from the back to the front, and usually late in the game, if you're tired, you're told just kick the ball up. But the way that defender delivered that ball up top, it was accurate. I think he knew what he was doing, and I was really impressed. And not only with the 3 goals bangers, but again, I was impressed with the composure and that long shot technique. It was just spot on, and I think people in the community should support this Rowdies Academy team because they looked really, really impressive the first game.
That's awesome to hear. And I believe you said, where can we watch those? I'm almost certain that you can do that on the Rowdies Twitch stream, but for all the listeners out there and for us as well, we will have that information for you for sure next week. We will definitely make sure that we can tell you where to find those games because it's cool to watch. And hey, if you guys want more coverage of that, I would definitely be down to do so. You listeners, please let us know what you would like to hear in relation to the Academy team. If there's a women's team that comes back for the Rowdies, I would definitely like to give that a ton of coverage. But the Academy team, I think, is something that we should ask the listeners how much you do or don't want of that. So great goals, obviously, and congrats to them for their winning start, as you said. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Everyone, just let us know on that. Let us know on anything else you want to talk about. If you've got questions, you can let us know. You can tag me on Twitter at RBLR James K, I should say, or you can use the hashtag AskRBLR. And Leo, can they also get in touch with you there if they had any questions?
Yeah, of course. I'm on Twitter. You can find me at _Leo Santos __. Don't hesitate to ask me any questions, or if you just want to talk about the game or anything like that. Don't hesitate. Just shoot right away.
Yeah, but like I said, let us know if you want any more Academy coverage. I think that it's a very particularly American soccer thing to always be looking for the next big thing, and if the next big thing comes out of Tampa, I definitely want to cover that.
Yeah, we should definitely cover that. And in regards to knowing where we could find it, where you could watch these games, we'll either let you know next week, or we'll probably put it out on our social media sometime this week whenever we get the information.
Absolutely, we can do that as well. So, all right, that should wrap it up for us this week. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. We appreciate it every week, and we appreciate all the feedback we're getting on social media as well. You guys are really giving us some good topics to think about to add into all the nonsense that we're already covering. So please follow us at RBLR Sports. You can do that on Instagram, on Twitter, or on Facebook. And please like and subscribe to our podcast. You can do that on Spotify, on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple and Google Podcasts, as well as YouTube and all other major podcast platforms.
Yeah, thank you, listeners, for your time today. And hopefully this game against Loudoun United is a turning point in the season that we critically need right now. As you said, the division is just getting closer and closer. We're in razor-thin margins now by goal differential, but hopefully this is a turning point that we're all wishing for.
That's right. So come on, you Rowdies. Let's go, Rowdies.
Come on, you Rowdies. Let's go.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.